Okay, just to summarize the pre-plan, these are the two cameras that I decided on. One was a Natica, I guess that's how you pronounce that, Natica WD-007K, and then this one is a WD-011. I think this is probably 640 by 480, something like that. And this one is supposedly 720 or whatever. Now I have taken them out of the packages because I wanted to kind of check them first before I went to this much trouble. So this one is very much like you see on a lot of bracket over the tail license. And it has a little piece here. I've already taken this apart, pulled it, tried it, tested it a little bit, reversed the mount because this thing actually comes in kind of as an over the top type of mount. And I talked to the lady at the company that sold them, and she said, oh yeah, you can turn it around. So I turned the bracket around backwards because this piece, if you will, is the part I'm going to have to put up against the truck. And the way the pre-plan worked out, I should be able to go right up over the bumper pad in the little hollow spot that exists up there. So now this camera was sort of the backup, if you remember, this is sort of the backup idea to the other one, in case I couldn't get the other to work. It's very OEM-ish, so I thought I might be able to go through the bumper if I couldn't get this mount to work. I'd go through the bumper and it would go, work like that, because it will also work either pendulum mode like this, or it will go sideways. The package is a pretty good bit of kit in here. The 721 has an extension that looks about like this. Now this is I think they said 23 feet, some odd feet like that. It should be long enough to follow through the back of the harness back, but it also has this little wire embedded in it, and that is the one that you'll use. You'll tie into the tail light, and you'll bring this forward on the head unit, and then this will be when you hit the brake lights and power the camera and power the brake lights themselves, that power will come back up through here, through the unit at the head, and it will tell the signal to the unit, hey, we're backing up. It also has a little power connector guy. Not that big a deal. Some wire ties, a little bit of kind of jap wrap, I guess, and in the rest of the box, some couple splices, a little bit of sticky tape to hold her down with, some screws, instructions, and a little "Are you happy?" thing. So actually, it's a pretty good so far. It looks pretty good, and the resolution is not bad. I tried to hook it to a monitor. I'll show you in a little bit. Now the other one, similar but a little bit different. It also has a big wad of cables, and it has one obviously to bring up the signal. Same basic thing inside the kit. Roll of tape. What do you call that for? The body panel remover, and it also has some of these to tilt the camera, and I'll show you where that's used for later on in the video. But it actually is it's a den mount type thing, a small connector, which is actually pretty neat, because if it wasn't small, you wouldn't be able to get the nut on that goes right here. So this actually will go through a panel one way or the other, and then you have that tiny little connector right there. And it looks like it's going to be a pretty decent one. Resolution is not great on like a 23-inch monitor, but by the time you put it down on, a dude that's about like that, a little doubled in, it's gonna be a lot sharper, should be. At this stage, and I have to walk up manually, and it's not easy to do on these new knees without bouncing your handheld. What we have here is a monitor. This is the monitor stand I usually use, and I often have that camera sitting up in that top spot. What it does is it allows me to look at least one of them and kind of see that I'm in the screen, that sort of thing. What I'm doing with this today is simulating the head unit so I can tinker with the position and the orientation of the cameras. I got two cameras. This is the one that I had intended to put back here. By adjusting the angle of the camera, we adjust the position to where those lines come, because the lines are just fixed. They are either, you either turn them on or turn them off, and they're in that exact same position no matter how the camera's done. And if you want it to actually correlate to some sort of a distance, you have to make it do so by tilting the camera. Now, I think it shows, let me see if I can get in here. My red line comes across here right about the top of that trailer hitch. So that would be pretty well much there, and that's at the angle that it's sitting right now. And if I tilted it, as you can imagine, if I tilted it up, looking back at the monitor, if you tilt it up, obviously the camera's going to look further out and the lines are going to be in a different position. So I think this is going to work all right here. I'm going to have to shave off some of that black plastic, and I think I'll just go ahead and mount it directly to the bumper. I don't have a piece of aluminum mount. I just bought just the camera by itself. But I think that's what I'm going to do. I think it'll go in just fine. I'll probably have to shave off a little of that bumper pad, but I believe it's going to work out okay. And let's see, the wiring is fairly simple. Do I have a wad of it here? No, I've got the extension in the house. But you end up with a connection. Let me show you these guys. And you have a number of these little jumpers. And you either cut the jumpers if you want lines or no lines, or front or back mounted camera, because one reverses it, makes it a mirror image. So it should be straightforward. I hope to get in here and run it underneath and catch that wiring harness and run it up forward toward the front of the truck. Now let's move to the front. Now let's look at the front camera as we have in Envision. We haven't mounted anything yet, but we're thinking about it. Same basic deal. Monitor just so we can kind of experiment. And this is a, I don't know what you call these kind of cameras. I call them stud mounts. Some people will call them OEMs and that sort of thing. But this one happens to be chrome. Well, my front bumper happens to be chrome. Also, the back bumper happens to be chrome. So I thought I might be able to mount it like this on the side of the bumper in the back as a backup in case I didn't like the other one. And it's a metal mount. It has 3 wires. It has the purple one is stud mount, or pendulum mount, or a horizontal mount. The white and the greens, each one of those is either reverse and like front or back, and or lines, no lines. So what I kind of had in mind, I had something in mind about like that. Dropping it down under, and it's going to be a little crooked because I just have the wire on there, dropping it under like that. And what it will do, obviously I got the TV, the monitor there in the wrong spot, so I got to do the wire the other way around. Hold on just a moment. The lines are not going to help a whole lot where it sits. Now I might be able to improve this angle because it's not really mounted. It's just kind of hanging in there. And if I get it up taller, it looks better, but the lines are not going to do much because mounted in this position, this is the bumper here. And this is a little bit of the white, it is this piece right here. So, but it shows me enough of where my bumper possibly is, so if I walk up to it in its current position, about the time that I lose my feet, I'm only about maybe a foot. So if I can't see the ground at that stage, which is where the lines are, I'm pretty close to being right up on it. And it also helps, I think, if I go in that direction, it's gonna, I think, protect the lens a little bit better than if I'm running with bugs straight on into it. So I think that's probably what I'm going to do there. I also thought about it coming right up here into this plastic and stud mounting it to the bottom of that. And I had to put the purple wire back on and hold it up in that direction. But that's also puts, because it's at a pretty good angle, the edge of that bow tie is at a pretty good angle, it might be pointing out a bit far. We'll try to simulate about what we can do with that here in just a second. Okay, now I think we were talking about, hello, I think we were talking about trying to mount this to this plastic. I'm gonna have to get down a little bit. I don't know if I can get back up. To simulate this angle. Now it looks like on the plastic that's going to be about the right angle. Let me get my big paw out of the way. So it's going to go, it would, if it were to mount it here, it would go something like that. And you see, actually that works out fairly well in that the red line goes pretty close to the edge of that bumper, so that might not be too bad either. It would be fairly easy, I think, to go in here. Let me just turn it like that. To go in here on the bottom of the bow tie and then pull it this way. But you see what I'm doing? I'm moving to my right and this finger's going to the left. So we're in the mirror image. I'd have to cut that out of the wire. But you know, that I do have a couple, they're just shims is what they are. They're little plastic shims. And you would angle it down, and by angling it up or angling it down, you get your lines to represent your position. So I don't know, it might be good just do it that way. My goal really was to be more of a where's the front of the truck, you know, line here. So either one of those would actually work pretty good. If I go in here, what I have to do, put it up there, what I have to do is I'm going in that space with like a piece of Lexan or something in behind it, and I'm just pinching it in this position. I put that wire, I don't want to bugger up my camera wire. Go back here, gentle dude. Yeah, it would be something like that. Now I really tend to like that presentation a little bit better, having the camera focus down than point out, but you know, it's probably all six one way, half a dozen another. Just make a choice and live with it. All right, let's talk about mounting the rear camera, how it turned out. Now, the camera is very steady. It is actually screwed, taped, and then pinched by the license plate that you can see back behind it. Can you see the license plate? Okay, now I took a piece of this white poly and spiral cut a piece to go from here to the back side of the bumper pad. It's hollow under the bumper pad, but I still didn't want it crushing and rubbing the wire, because you can see just, let me get the camera right down there, you can see just right there that little bit of black camera cable. And so you can see just a little bit, maybe, if I get it down, you see a little bit of corner of that white poly. Now the hole is a little uglier than I would like it to be, but I was searching for a way to get that under there where it wasn't actually pinching the whole kit and caboodle. So we go down from underneath there. I'll show you a picture. In short, I run right up with it with a 3/8 inch split tubing or loom that runs down to about, I think it's a 1/2 inch right there where the big knuckle is, where the junction is, where we cut the blue and the white wire if in fact we need to. It's right down there, easily accessible. I got it wire tied for support, and then we go right up into the split. Here's a still picture of the split. One runs up, takes the power off of the rear tail light assembly, and the other one goes forward with a video feed. Now to power the rear view camera, we come off the tail light, and most specifically out of the tail light, the backup light. And you take your voltmeter and just verify which ones you're going to use depending on your make and model. This one happens to be black is ground and green is reverse or backup light.
So we take the red from the camera and we take it to the green on the backup light. We take the black and ground it, do the same thing. Now if I come over to the side, I'll show you a picture from underneath, but we come up and I blend these two together to this little piece of 3/8 harness. You can see paint everywhere. That wasn't my doing. I've just taken it and spliced it in right there for the camera will focus. Can't tell in the sunlight on the monitor, but hopefully that's it and we get a good picture. I have to wrap that with some tape, some good tape. I use 33 plus. It's a pretty good thin stretchy vinyl, and if you'll cut it instead of just snap it, it'll actually stay wrapped better like that right there. You see white paint on everything. I've been replacing bulbs since I got this thing back from the paint shop, because that white paint will blow them every time. Now from the back we go into a piece of 3/8 and we just run the entire length of the run in loom tubing because it is exposed and we're not really able to see exactly where everything goes. I'm going to put up some pictures as we go, and you can see we're humping over the fuel tank and around, and we're just going to try to follow that body harness that comes from the tail end of the frame all the way up into the inside of the engine compartment. And at the end we pop up, and I think we have right at 15 feet of 3/8 used, plus whatever scrap and pieces were on the back end, and that's it. Now right here in front is the front camera. The wiring runs in 3/8 loom around here, drops around the bottom, comes inside of the light, pops up, comes here, runs underneath. There's actually the joint here, I think it is, for the connector, and I'll show a picture of weatherproofing that connection a little bit. Again, I can get to these if I want to change the options with the camera. We had to remove this brace to get down, and I don't know if I can show way down there somewhere, the light's bad, is the firewall penetration. And we go around to the inside of the truck. If you'll drop the block, the connection, the body connection block out of the bottom where you get to it, it'll help you a lot. Just come up. I've wrapped it in 88, I think a Super 88, which is a highly abrasion resistant, which should be enough by itself. But then I put it in 3/8 loom tube because as it comes around with the dashboard exposed, you can see there's some little sharp edges, and I'm just protecting it. Pops all the way up in the back of the radio compartment. And now I think we are just about done.